the Harwich Conservation Commission, Wednesday, August 3rd. First item is a request for determination of applicability. Roland Gager, 7 Old Wharf Road, construction of addition with lawn and landscape area. You're on.
Good evening, David Clark from Clark Engineering on behalf of Mr. Garnier. What he's proposing is an addition to his dwelling at 7 Old Wharf Road. The 2014 floodplain comes up into the yard now and encompasses the eastern portion of his property. That's really the only resource area on the property, although the landform immediately adjacent to the floodplain does meet the technical definition of a coastal bank under the state's policy. However, this particular landform doesn't serve any of the functions of a coastal bank. It doesn't abut a beach, salt marsh, or a dune. In fact, the nearest other resource area is over 450 feet to the southeast, which is the salt marsh estuary of the Red River. We filed a request for determination with the commission. Did review Amy's notes and forwarded them on to the owner, and he has no issues with providing mitigation plantings along the southerly property line. In fact, he's planning on removing some of the lawn anyways and putting in plantings. So be happy to work with Amy and pick out appropriate plantings for that area.
Okay, David, what is the purpose of the addition? Is it, what kind of room is it?
Need a bigger kitchen.
Okay.
And,
not unusual request, okay.
Yep.
Okay. Rob, do you have a question?
I don't. I'm completely satisfied with the
Okay.
plan.
Carolyn?
No.
Brad?
Well, I guess I have questions for Amy, but I might as well just voice them to you and we can
Okay.
talk about it. It seems unusual to have an RDA request that includes a variance. I would ask Amy why it wouldn't be an NOI and then have the request for a variance within the NOI.
Well,
Any ideas?
I suggested an NOI, and she said it was, I can't speak for her, but what we talked about was the fact that it's a man-made bank. It was created when they built the garage addition, so they excavated the property in order to get into the garage. And when they did that, it wasn't a resource area, and it's just a newly formed resource area. So I explained that I felt that although it met the slope requirement of being a coastal bank, it performs none of the functions of a coastal bank. So she suggested an RDA and let the commission determine whether it's a resource area that should be regulated.
I didn't make the site visit today, so we didn't.
Rob is there.
Did you see anything that would?
I was actually very surprised. It was
So was Mr. Gagne.
I bet.
When I
was
told him about it.
jurisdictional
I
even.
bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really see any adverse impact whatsoever on the environment as a result of doing that project.
So it's a long ways from what you see as the resource
You
area.
can't even see the resource area from there.
Yep. Well, I'm not going to contradict Amy. I think my preference would be to have this done as an NOI, but we're here today and that we have no concerns, so I think
Okay, do we have a motion?
forward. I move that we approve the plan proposed for 7 Old Wharf Road as put forth to us today.
Okay.
I'm not familiar on the mitigation plan, so we might want to.
He's accepting that. I think that's what Amy has proposed.
I think it was 15 altogether, and like I said, Mr. Gagne is perfectly happy of working with her and finding appropriate place and quality and quantity of plantings, the size of plantings to put in there. I think she suggested 1 to 2 gallons, but he's probably going to put more than that in from talking to him today.
Need a second?
Second.
Got a second? Any further discussion of the motion?
I would just say have the proponent come back to us with the mitigation plan, so that
Oh, sure, but
Amy
we could,
can take a look at it.
yep, that'd be fine.
Okay. Okay, you ready for a vote? All those in favor of the RDA and the coming back with a mitigation plan indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay.
Scrambled at like 4:30.
Notice of intent, William Gisella, 59 North Westgate Road, construct a single-family dwelling, continued. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Once again, I am William Gisella, and at the last meeting, you had some requests for us for further information. I think you received a letter from the state concerning the endangered species, and you wanted a topo of the property, and I'm trying to remember, I think there was one more.
The soil samples? and-
Oh, yes, from Lynn Hemlin, the soil samples showing the wetland designation that she determined. And I think Amy had received, I think she received all that material before she went on vacation, but I am not sure.
I don't think she did.
She didn't get the topography.
Okay.
No, as of noon on Friday, 7:29. I've not gotten them.
Yeah, she's recommended we continue this until the meeting on the 17th,
She hadn't
so she
gotten
can
the
review them.
elevations, as of Friday, she hadn't gotten the elevation contours yet.
And she went on vacation this week.
We had dropped the plans off at the office
Yeah,
of
we
the
have,
elevations.
we have a copy of that plan.
Do you have that?
Yeah.
Oh, we have that, okay, we have that.
We also asked for options on that little bit of driveway to find a way to have it impervious or to reduce the area.
I would have to refer to Stephen
Okay.
as a potential buyer to comment on that.
Okay.
Sure. Which part of the turnaround?
This little section here, we asked if there were any options to reduce either the footprint or to make it,
I put it here,
oh, you did?
I can,
You can?
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
we
so
could just put it here, up and back it up to the edge of the leach field.
that'd
And
be,
it won't interfere with anything,
yeah,
it'll be away from here. And we also tightened up, if you look at the previous plan to this plan,
What?
the barrier,
right,
to the garage was 15 feet.
Right.
I asked her for 15 feet, so we moved that.
Yeah.
Kind of straightened it out here to not get close to the 50.
yeah. Are you gonna revise the plans to show that, or?
We need to revise the plan all over again?
Well-
14 copies again and stamp them all again?
I don't know if you do or not, but it sounds like Amy needs to see these. And I guess some assurance that,
Because this is the second time around.
oh, I understand that, I understand that, but we did ask for that.
Okay.
change,
the-
I'm
okay,
really
the
glad-
other-
I'm
The
re-
other option would be to make it out of stone?
We asked for
Native
options,
stone?
we asked for ideas on
Would
either,
native stone be your requirement?
It wouldn't-
That would work with you?
I think we're looking for options to have less impervious surface in the 50 to 100.
So native stone would do it?
I-
And right down through gravel, sand, basically?
Like-
Underneath it.
I guess I wouldn't mind hearing from Amy and the other commissioners whether they'd rather have it out of the 50 to 100 or have it as impervious stone. I think they're both good options. I appreciate you coming up with those. It sounds like we have to wait for Amy as it is.
She hasn't seen these.
'Cause
Okay,
It would be a shame to have to draw the whole thing all over again and re-stamp it and blah, 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 when it's kind of a smaller
I agree.
thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can make it work one way or the other,
That's why she needs to see us.
yeah.
So I would suggest we continue and we ask if Amy can take a look at what you have and if we can get by with a footnote or some type of narrative,
Yeah.
change as opposed to a plan change.
But under your order of conditions, can't you just condition it to be a stone parking area? Or,
Sure, we can condition it to be stone, or we can condition it to be moved out of the 50 to 100, which I think is probably my preference. But,
There's also an inspection before at the end of the project, isn't there?
yes,
Something can be recorded for a release at the registry.
That's part of the process, yeah.
So, the plan thing, it seems like it's go out of the way. When it's all gonna be checked, you can condition it on the, permit,
right,
and then inspect it at the end for the release.
right. But our agent is asking that we continue it, so I think what we should do is continue it, and we can discuss all these particulars and come to some agreement today.
now, I talked to her last week, and I thought, or my interpretation of what she was saying, she was satisfied with what we were submitting, and I mean, I don't know, maybe we misunderstood what she wanted or something, but
I think we're just missing a couple things here,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
that are-
she
that are
hasn't seen the plan. It's what-
Essential.
Any other questions from the commission? If not,
I mean, is that an issue for your scheduling and everything
well,
else?
I just feel basically shafted.
Well, it seems,
we
I
have not
thought
turned,
we-
we have not turned it down, sir.
No, I didn't say
We
that.
did not
I-
shaft you.
I'm
We
gonna
did not
say-
shaft you.
Sir, I sat up where you have for a lot of years.
Please do not accuse us of
And I
shafting you.
understand, technicalities, but I thought we were doing all the things that Amy had requested, and
She
now we
is-
have to go back to the drawing board and start over
She
again?
has requested to see the plans, and she hasn't seen them yet. She's on vacation this
I
week.
realize that, she's
Okay.
up in Maine.
Spoke with her also over the phone in Lane.
I understand. That's why she wanted to see the plan.
The soils checked out, the wetland was
Mm-hmm.
a wetland where it was, the plans drawn with the wetland, the topo's there, the 15-foot barrier, 15-foot mark from the garage is there, filtration barrier for the work
Okay.
permit. And again, it's like,
Please do not accuse us of shafting you.
I didn't say that.
well, the note she left us said that she requested plans by July 28th and didn't receive them by then, and so she was gone by the 29th. So it sounds like you guys just didn't click by a day, but that's what our notes say.
Unfortunately, I don't have any control over my engineer.
Right.
We understand, we
Yep.
understand.
Well, I don't think we really have any disagreement. I think it would be good to have some type of indication from you that you're going to shift that garage, the pavement over, and then Amy can take a look at them. So really, the unfortunate part is you come back one more time. Otherwise, there's no consequence that I see.
Also, at the end of the day, if it didn't comply and there wasn't a release given, I'm not gonna get an occupancy permit from the building department either. I'm not gonna be able to sell the house if I desire to sell the house at any given time, because you still have a hold on it.
I think the last thing that we want to do is make this process cumbersome. We don't want to do that, but we do have to respect the wishes of the conservation agent that had requested seeing that by a certain date, and she hadn't, and unfortunately, she didn't get it, so I think that it leaves us with no alternative, but we have to see you again, or you have to see us again. Please don't take offense to it, because it's
So
not.
basically, then,
We
we're
just-
coming back in with the same material.
Well,
and-
but not necessarily. We've many times told people they need to, we've asked for changes, and the changes aren't in the plans, and we've asked them to come back with that modification. So, in this case, there was no change made to that footprint. So I think there is a change we'd like to see, but I'm satisfied if we see it just as a narrative, project change, as opposed to redoing the plans. So,
2 weeks ago, though, there was a debate about having a French drain around the edge of that parking area to funnel the water away from flowing with the grading of the land. But now you want the,
I specifically asked for the two options of making it impervious or to move it out of the 50 to 100, so
there was no discussion about the French drain?
there was.
There was discussion, that would
But-
probably be in this,
But
in
a commissioner did make that request
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks ago. So,
So if the parking area was on the other side of the driveway,
That would move it out of the
I mean,
50-foot.
I think what we need is a little direction of what you really want.
Well, I know, I was pretty clear that I felt like it was too much new impervious surface in the 50 to 100, and I felt the one way you could mitigate that was to move that little jog either over or to make it impervious. And I didn't know what the preference was, and so I asked you to look into it. And right now, I'm fine, I think, either way, but I think probably the best thing to do would be to move it out of the 50 to 100. And if you had a strong argument where you wanted to keep it, then go impervious.
No, it
And-
would be right out of the 100 completely,
Yeah, that's my preference.
so there wouldn't even be an issue.
Yeah,
So you
Correct.
could do whatever you wanted, yep.
yeah, so I think,
All right,
and
that's the best way to go.
and I'm okay if it comes back as a narrative change to the plans as opposed to redoing the plans.
Yeah, with a footnote.
Yeah,
I'm totally fine with that too. We
Yeah.
just have to get the word from Amy that's okay.
right.
Mhm.
And I don't think you're gonna find any, further questions on the motion.
So,
I have one more question. Can you please speak into the microphone? Oh. I guess it's not important. It's a chance I'd be taking. Could I start the building permit process? Are we safe to say that this is a doable deal other than these small changes?
That's a question for the building department, really. I don't know if you can do that or not.
You don't know if they would allow, okay. So it's something I would talk to the commissioner about.
Okay, do we have a motion to continue this to the next meeting on the 17th, is it?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Need a motion.
Make a motion to continue 59 Northwest Gate till the 17th of August meeting.
Okay, thank you. Need a second?
Second.
Okay, got a second. Any more discussion on the motion? Check with Amy, and I think she could help try to speed this up for you. Okay, all those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No. Motion carries. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, notice of intent, Arthur J. and Karen Bukakas. Nope, say it again? Patukas, 39 Rainbow Way. Proposed additions and renovations to the existing dwelling and installation of an upgraded septic system. Work will take place in the 50-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. Okay.
Good evening, I'm Stephanie Sequin, representing Arthur and Karen Bajukas, who are the owners of the property at 39 Rainbow Way. Mrs. Bajukas is here in the audience tonight. They purchased the property very recently from Mrs. Bajukas' aunt, and as a result of that real estate transfer, there was the existing septic system has to be upgraded. So the property borders on Sand Lake, and as was said already, there is a bordering vegetated wetland that comes in very, very close to the existing dwelling. The entire property is within the 100-foot buffer to the bordering vegetated wetland. In order to there's no way that we can keep the new leaching system 100 feet away from the wetland because, as I said, the entire property is within the 100-foot buffer, but we're attempting to maximize the separation between the wetland and the leaching system by putting the leaching system in the northwesterly corner of the property. The soil here is very sandy, good for the leaching system. Unfortunately, we have an extremely high groundwater elevation, and in order to provide the 5-foot separation between the high groundwater and the bottom of the leaching system, we have to use a pump system, pumping it up to a raised leaching system constructed within a concrete containment wall. The top of the wall is, we've called it out at elevation 54.5. The existing grade in that area is roughly 50, 51, so we're talking about a 3.5 foot tall wall going in here. All this work is taking place on the inland side of the building, so the existing building will basically provide the barrier between this work and the wetland. The existing system will be pumped dry and filled with clean sand. The existing leaching field will just be abandoned in place. Also, as part of this project, the house is in need of some maintenance, new siding, new roof. The Bajukases are also looking at doing some renovations to the building. There's an open farmer's porch on the north side of the building that they would like to enclose and turn into habitable space, just to give them a little more living space there. So that addition will be constructed within the existing footprint, utilizing the existing foundation. So there's no increase in the building area and no disturbance to the ground for the construction of that addition. And they'll also be replacing doors and windows, maybe moving some doors and windows, and then re-siding and re-roofing. So we've included those projects with this notice of intent. And they would also, let's see, two other things. We're showing a proposed generator just beside the existing shed that's on the easterly part of the property. And they would like to replace what's now a paved driveway with a slightly larger driveway that's constructed of pervious pavement. So it's sort of hoping you'll see that as a trade-off, that we are making it slightly bigger, but we're taking the impervious pavement away and replacing it with pervious pavement, and doing the same to the existing stepping stone walk that goes from the driveway to the entrance, and replacing that with pervious pavement as well. So we're showing a limit of work that goes around the building and will contain all the activity, and specified that a fabric silt fence be staked in place along the limit of work and remain throughout construction. In the narrative, I've described how a dumpster will be placed in the driveway to contain all the construction debris. The excavated material will be placed directly into trucks for removal from site, because we have kind of this is as far as the installation of the septic system goes, fairly tight working area, so no stockpiling of material on site. It will be hauled directly off-site. So I think that's it. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Rob.
You have a well-thought-out plan. I don't see anything that really concerns me. There was only one little thing that I did see in the backyard, and that is one of the downspouts goes in a PVC pipe right into the wetland.
Okay.
So maybe that could be rectified. But other than that, I think the plan is solid.
Carolyn?
And I'm sorry, by backyard, you mean pond side?
Yeah, the water
Okay.
side, yeah. Yep. The pipe is actually cracked and exposed. That's the only way that I saw it.
Okay.
And did you mention that there's a misspelling of the name? So what is the correct spelling of the owners?
BoujouKous.
Okay,
On the plan is correct.
okay, our copies are incorrect. You propose to place a generator next to the shed?
Mm-hmm.
And how are you going to fuel that generator?
Is that propane?
I would imagine it's propane because the gas company's not allowing me gas, but in all honesty, I didn't think to ask my husband, so,
Do you already have a pre-existing gas service at the house?
yes.
So they would probably just go directly from they wouldn't add propane, you would probably use natural gas.
So as I'm looking at this, the entire property is within the 50?
The entire property is within the 100.
Within the 100.
Yes.
So there is a possibility of utilities digging oil, for a gas line to the
A gas line
shed,
from the house to the
shed,
generator, yes.
Within the 50 to 100.
Yes.
Okay. That's all.
Okay, the wetland is to the south, is it?
Yes.
Okay. More questions? Brad?
No questions.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the proposal for 39 Rainbow Way, as described.
Okay, now there's a conflict between the letter 45 Rainbow Way and 39 Rainbow Way. Is it 39 Rainbow Way?
The project is at 39 Rainbow Way.
Okay.
They will be accessing some of the work from the neighbor's property at 45.
Okay, that was, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, we have a motion to approve the project at 39 Rainbow Way. Need a second.
Second.
Got a second from Rob. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Anyone opposed? No. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Next, notice of intent, David Hendren, 10 Island Pond Road. Remove existing house and accessory buildings, construction of a new single-family house with an attached garage. 10 Island Pond Road. Okay.
I
Need-
think it's a little early. It's on the
Okay, yeah,
agenda for
7:10, we'll wait a few
7:10.
minutes here, we're ahead of schedule, thank you. Thank you, Marie.
Blazing through.
Yeah,
Not bad.
Skip ahead and go to another one?
No, you can't.
you can't?
Extension request. Well,
Yeah,
can
we
we approve
can.
minutes or something?
I don't think we have any, I don't think we have minutes,
Okay.
yeah.
The certificate of compliance was continued, so can't do that.
Yeah. Need a motion to continue 6 Sacotucket Point, certificate of compliance.
So moved.
Okay, got a motion to continue 6 Sacotucket Point, need a second.
Second?
Got a second, all in favor of continuing that, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, anyone opposed, no, motion carries.
So no minutes in the packet?
No minutes in the packet.
Okay.
Are we continuing that to the 17th?
Yes, thank you.
Do we need representation for the extension request? Is that something we can
Good question.
take on? I don't know. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you expect that we would need proponent representation to discuss an extension request? I would think not.
Your agent told you there were no problems, I would suspect not.
Okay. Thank you for that. Amy's recommending a 1-year extension.
This is 11 River Point Circle.
River Pine Circle. Does that have an actual time of the, on schedule?
Oh, here's Dave Hendon.
Hmm?
Here's Dave Hendon. Here's Dave
Yeah,
Hendon.
yeah,
You just
yeah,
walked in.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we can,
We can delay that. I think we got 10 Island Pond Road just came in. Yes. You're on. Thank you.
Dan Croto from Moran Engineering, here with Dave Handren, the property owner and contractor for this project.
Two Davids,
Dan and Dave.
Dan and Dave, okay.
One, two Ds. This is, I believe it's the house that Dave grew up on. Grew up in, I don't think he grew up on top of it. I submitted pictures and of the house that's there. Because of the age of the house, it actually had to wait out, it's been vacant for a year or so, had to go through historic district. House is not in good shape, but it is older than 75 years. There are 3 structures on the property, and the 3 structures are going to be removed. And the one structure with an attached garage is what Dave is proposing. This existing, part of the building is within the 50-foot to the overgrown, or to the shrub swamp to the south, which is on a lot of land that is also owned by the applicant. So existing, we have it as 145 square feet within the 50. We're reducing that to 0. Structure within 100 feet is going down slightly from 1964 down to 1910. And existing house or existing building coverage within the 100 feet is, or total building coverage, I should say, is 2275. The proposed is 2122, and with a 270 square foot deck. It's an existing landscaped yard. Because the garage is being moved quite a bit forward to Pond Road, there's quite a bit of the parking area. The parking area will be reduced quite a bit. And there's an existing at the top of the bank, which is 10 feet or 10 to 15 feet above the old bog. There is an existing post and rail fence, and that's the edge of the existing landscaped area and yard. And the edge of the work limit and the silt fence as well inside of the existing yard. Post and rail, a fence, and water line utility area. The septic system, we're going to retain. The proposal is to retain the existing septic system. It was inspected, and it did pass inspection. David had that inspected before he started the project. And with that, I'll ask for questions. We're both here for answers.
Rob, you have a question?
So the septic in the front of the house, or the septic is in the back?
Septic is in the back, the north.
Oh, I guess it's off the kitty corner of the smaller of the 2 buildings, right?
Yes, it's in front of the existing garage, but it'll be northeast of the proposed, northwest of the proposed house.
Yeah, okay.
The Board of Health requirement is that the leach pit is 100 feet away, and it's about 125 from the wetland resource.
What are your driveway plans?
I
It's
think we're
being-
gonna try to do asphalt eventually.
Yeah.
You know, the driveway's there now, it's stone dust, it's been there for 60-plus years,
Yeah, yeah.
so it's hard as a rock anyway
Yeah.
now, there's no drainage in it.
I saw it's a cool property, cool buildings too. Beautiful old architecture.
Yeah.
Yeah, really neat. Do you have some kind of a plan to try to get rid of all that Japanese knotweed that's around the back buildings?
I don't have a plan, I would love to do that.
Yeah. Wondering, while all the excavation's going on, if there isn't some way that you can, I mean, you have to do a big overdig around that to get it all. But I wonder if it wouldn't behoove you to try to get rid of that stuff while all the excavation's going on.
Oh, you're talking about right around the small
Yeah.
cottage? Oh, yeah, that I would love to excavate.
Right,
Looks like there's some more growing in the,
in the back
Back of the
area,
woods.
yeah. I would just be concerned that would,
expand.
once you take that building out of there and that stuff starts getting more sun, it's gonna be concerned with that. Other than that, the plan's excellent.
Thanks.
Carolyn?
Did you get the certificate from Natural Heritage?
No, we haven't yet. So we know that that's a, we know that we're not getting an order of conditions before we hear from Natural Heritage. We wanted to open it up and go through any concerns and get that out of the way.
Brad?
No, I'm, thrilled to see a tear down that is backing up a little bit and not really seeking to increase its footprint in the 50 to 100, so it's kind of refreshing. We don't see this very often. If I might ask, what year was the home built?
Right around 1900,
1900?
right after 1900. It was actually by Chase and Sanborn.
Oh, no
The
kidding?
Chase from Chase and Sanborn, according to the town it was, yeah.
Yeah, a relative of mine.
Yeah.
Any more questions? If not, we need a motion.
Move to continue, pending.
Or can we move to approve with the condition that Natural Heritage signs off?
Keep the hearing open.
How does that get worded?
I think that we can move to approve the proposal, but keep the hearing open until they have approval from Natural Heritage.
Okay,
But do we have any conditions?
no conditions.
Yeah, can Dave bring up one thing before?
Sure.
There's possibility of there's no, obviously, it's all open land and a house where we're tearing down and rebuilding, so there's no shrubbery that has to get removed except for the Japanese. There are 2 pine trees. One's out of the 100-foot zone, and one's within the 100, but it's out of the 50, obviously. It's out of the work limit. That's headed towards the house, and the other one's gonna be, I think, in the way of the driveway turnaround. So those are the only 2 trees we're contemplating, and my wife doesn't want to take either one of them down, but
You want us to
I think
take them
one of
down?
them at least might have to, so.
One of them had the turpentine beetle in it, so I think that's gonna automatically happen.
One of them is beyond the 100,
Yeah.
and then one of them is, can you pinpoint where the other one is?
The other one's like 10 feet this side of the work limit, right about here. I don't point to you, not the board, but
So it's east.
it's north of the work
Within the
limit
work
line.
area.
Yeah, it's
East
in the
of
work
the-
area, and it's the one that's obviously hanging over.
We can make a condition if you talk to Amy about that, about the pine trees.
I don't have a problem with,
Get an administrative review on it.
with that
Yeah.
location.
That's fine.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Sounds good.
I
So,
guess
do
the only
we have a
condition.
motion to
Oh.
continue it with the approval pending the
The heritage.
Heritage report?
One condition I'd like to ask for is, you're proposing to keep the lawn in the 50-foot buffer zone to be as it is, just kind of a Cape Cod lawn. Would you be fine with that being a condition where it remains Cape Cod lawn without irrigation or fertilization?
I would love that condition.
Okay. And then I propose we accept the proposal of 10 Island Pond Road as is, with a condition of having no fertilization or irrigation with a natural Cape Cod lawn in the 0 to 50. And we're approving this, but keeping the hearing open pending the approval from Natural
Right.
Heritage.
Okay, need a second to that.
Second.
We got a second from Rob. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? No. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Stan.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Extension request, Christopher and Lisa Barton, 11 River Pine Circle. Installation of a vinyl bulkhead, raise elevation of existing boathouse and pier, extend the pier and replace ramp with mitigation planning. We have an extension request on that. For what? What was the request for? A 1-year extension. Any questions about that? If not, do we have a motion?
Any comments from the project representative? Oh, it's not you? Oh. Okay.
Need a motion to approve a 1-year extension.
Oh, I see. I move that we approve the 1-year extension for 11 River Pine Circle.
Okay, you need a second.
Second.
Look on a second. Any further discussion of the motion? And not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no. Motion carries. Okay. Certificate of compliance, 6 Sacotuck Point. That was the one we were going to continue, was it not?
That one we already did.
Yeah.
We've
wait a
got,
minute.
there
We
is an
have to sign.
extension.
Oh, we've got a couple we have to sign here.
We need 4 signatures on here.
The other extension's not on the agenda, but it's in Amy's notes, so I think that's what Arlene is here for. Okay.
Amended order conditions, you're on. 19 Wacquasit Road. Changes to hardscape amenities during construction of the parking turning area north of the driveway, the outdoor shower and utilities area on the north side of the house, and minor change to the landscape design.
Good evening. Arlene Wilson, A.M. Wilson Associates, here for the Stevens. This is a project over at 19 Wequasit, and there have been a number of sort of minor reorganizations of the hardscape on the water side of the house. You may recall that this is a location where there was a raised patio and extensive hardscape on that side of the house to begin with. The Stevens made some changes to that hardscape, but the hardscape did not get closer to the water. It was within the footprint of the original. I know that several of you did not sit on that hearing, and I think I have a graphic that can give you some help with what was originally proposed and approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what happens on this graphic is that what's shown in green stripes was hardscape before the project started and was removed as part of this project to reduce the overall hardscape in the 50. The red was some hardscape that got pushed around a little bit. There was, the other parts of this project were building up the shore edge with some coconut fiber rolls, and then taking out some of the lawn that before went right down to the water, and beefing it up with some native plantings. That work is not quite finished for those of you who went down and saw the site, we need to increase the width of that in a couple of places, but the permit is still open.
You're talking about from the coconut roll closest to the water, Is that the area that you're talking about? It's kind of like naturalized a little bit?
Actually, it's from the fiber rolls back towards the house. It's into the So what happened before is that the lawn went all the way down essentially to the water's edge.
Gotcha, okay.
And the fiber rolls are all covered over with plantings now, except for the southerly corner.
Where the hammock was there? Is that what you're
I
talking
think
about?
so, yeah. This corner. You
Right.
can see some of the a little bit of exposure on the top of a couple of those rolls. Most of the rest of it is covered over. So during construction, there were some changes made within the footprint of that patio. Originally, there was, where you see the big steps that go down toward the water, those stairs were originally proposed to be 14 feet wide. They wound up at 10 feet wide. They got pushed over a foot or two. On the north side of the stairs, there was originally a barbecue pit, I think, or some kind of a fire pit that got deleted, and the pool got butted up against the stairs. And the northeast corner was originally supposed to be rounded, and it got squared off. The biggest change in that hardscape is on the water side of the garage, where the barbecue area is. And originally, that was the barbecue itself was smaller, but there were supposed to be wing walls and a walkway. The wing walls got deleted. So overall, that area is actually a little bit smaller. The outdoor shower was originally proposed to be bigger. It got a little bit smaller, but the mechanical areas beside it running back toward the street are larger. That's some of the biggest mechanical areas on a single-family dwelling I've seen in a long time, but they've got the pool mechanicals there as well. Biggest issue is that he was supposed to come back and talk to Amy and the commission about the final layout of the parking area at the driveway, partly because it's quite close to his neighbor, who originally had some concerns about taking vegetation down. I believe he straightened it out with the neighbor, because the neighbor is also a sometimes client, and I haven't heard anything from him about any of this. They managed to keep more of the vegetation by changing the grading in there. There was originally a retaining wall that ran alongside the house, just about at the edge of that shower, and ran all the way back. They took that out and graded it down, so that they got rid of that step in grade change, and they were able to keep the vegetation at the lower level. The result of all of this is that we're about 40 feet to the good on hardscape in the 0 to 50. That's 40 square feet less than the commission had actually authorized, and about 35 square feet less in the 50 to 100. I know there's a lot of little things, and it's a little bit confusing, but.
Thank you, Arlene. Rob, any questions?
Yeah, so basically, the original plan that was proposed was tweaked by the homeowner, but it wasn't reapproved by the commission, is that?
That's right.
Okay. So technically things were done without approval, where we're at, right?
And we can't get a certificate of compliance until it all matches.
That's correct, but we can't get a certificate here anyway, because we need to go, we need to finish up the planting and then go one season out with a report after,
All right.
after that, so.
Right.
Any questions, Caroline?
Do we have a copy of the original certificate,
Amy does.
order of conditions?
Amy does.
Yeah.
I have one with me
Can I
if
check
you'd
that
like
out for
to
just one
see
sec?
it. She says Blythe. I thought I did.
Amy probably has it in her folder, too.
Oh, okay.
What are we looking for?
The original order of conditions?
Here we go. Got it.
Awesome, thank you.
And the approved plan is
Thank you.
here.
Thank you. Just need one sec to read through this, sorry.
If it'll only take you a second, you're a better reader than I am. Amy has got the first field report, the first inspection report.
Carolyn, do you have a question while he's reading it?
Well, I have a question. Where you've got sod lawn, is that an old or new sod lawn?
It's old.
It's old, so that's just lawn.
It
that
dates
hasn't-
dates to the original house, yes.
And a general comment is, we sit here when we review plans, and then the homeowners and contractors change them at will, even though they're minor modifications. What are we doing?
I understand your frustration.
I mean,
It happens.
Well,
yeah,
to
I can,
follow, did it come to our attention from the opponent or through another means? Do you know?
I brought it to Amy's attention.
Okay, so that's,
And to the homeowner,
so that's proactive. And as an amendment, I think there's a cost associated with an amendment, so I agree with you, but this seems like it came from the proponent, which is better than having it discovered by a neighbor or someone else.
The one other thing, that this is one of the sites where there's been gall wasp damage in the black oaks, and there were 4 black oaks that had to be taken down, and the homeowner has added 4 maple trees in the planting beds in order to compensate.
okay.
That's a game changer for me.
Number 13, in this orders of conditions, I assume, all work will be done in strict conformity with the plans approved by the commission under this order of conditions. Failure to file an amended plan and obtain the commission's approval before deviating in any way from the approved plans shall constitute a violation of this order of conditions and permit. The commission, in its discretion, may require a new hearing if any deviations or alterations from the approved plans are deemed significant. And is this the hearing?
This is the hearing.
This is
In
the
order
hearing.
for there to be an amended plan, we have to make a filing, pay a fee, notify all of the abutters. It's in the newspaper, so,
And we have the
We got
notification
those.
of butters here.
Okay.
All right, that's all I've got.
Any other questions?
Brad?
There's, no permanent underground irrigation is permitted in the resource area or buffer area. Temporary, drip irrigation is permitted. No fertilizer is permitted. There's absolutely no way that lawn's not irrigated, fertilized, pre-emergent, and watered on a with an irrigation system. I checked out that turf myself.
I'm sure it's being irrigated this year.
Right, so, I mean, they're violating it
but-
there as well.
But I think it's done above the surface. I
didn't
don't
s-
believe
I didn't
there's
see anything.
below ground underneath. But they need to irrigate the planting beds this year, and Amy knows that that's going on.
Right.
So,
More so
that
just talking
will-
about the turf. I'm just going through the
Yeah.
order of conditions and,
yeah,
you know, the existing sod lawn was to be removed with a natural mixed fescue lawn. That didn't happen. Because you have a mix, you have a 50/50 mix of rye bluegrass there, so that one got violated. So that's 3 things on the order of conditions that were completely ignored.
what is supposed to happen with that back lawn is that it's supposed to get overseeded with more fescue. And I believe that that's due to happen in the fall. Should have happened in the spring, but there was no doing it this spring.
Okay.
It just has,
So
it's been
you
too
got down
dry.
Today,
Yeah, I gave it a hard sniff down, yeah.
did anyone else get there? I did not get there. I'm wondering if we should continue this and go back down there and take a good look. I'm really interested in seeing the fiber rolls, and not so much because I'm suspecting something isn't right, but just it's a unique situation where they were raised up to allow the lawn to continue the way it was and to protect it. So it's interesting to see how it functions and to see how it lasts over time. So I think we might want to do that.
Let's make a motion to continue this to the next meeting.
There are also pictures, because when you go out there, Brad, you won't see much. But in that first report that Amy has,
Do you guys want to see the order of conditions at all?
you'll see, and you can pass these around,
Oh,
those
yeah.
are pictures
Yeah.
when the rolls were being installed.
Yeah, you can still kind of see the rolls a little bit. They look like they did a great job.
Mhm. It was a little unusual. The rolls were to protect, the lawn essentially.
Well, we had originally requested a vertical bulkhead
Right.
back
Yeah.
in the lawn.
Right.
And the commission did not look favorably upon that, so the fiber rolls were,
Used for retention.
yeah.
Yeah.
The edge was being eroded, and that lawn is well below the 100-year flood elevation. The house is about a foot too low.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a pretty important application for us to consider and see how it does, and
Right.
so I wouldn't mind seeing it. And the plantings plan, I guess, has a report due a year from now or thereabouts.
Right.
So I'd like to see it then as well, but I think for now, there's enough questions raised. We probably should get down there as a group with Amy and see. The request for the amendment seems reasonable to me. It's just a question of there are other things that
Right.
haven't been uncovered.
Yeah. I think the amendment itself is fine. I just
Right.
tripping over all the things that, all the order of
Darlene,
conditions
these
that
are
were
yours
broken.
here.
But the property's beautiful. Someone did an absolutely beautiful job in designing and construction. It's just spectacular. I love just the entrance and the driveway and everything about it. Just has a remarkable feel to it.
It's for Marie. Do we have a
That's
motion to
it.
continue this to the next meeting
Would
then?
it be okay to continue it for 2 weeks to fit a site visit in? Is that- Okay.
Thank you.
None of it's going anywhere.
Right, yeah.
All right, then I move we continue the hearing for 19 Wacquasit Road for 2 weeks, and that we schedule a site visit in the interim.
I second.
Second, Carolyn, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Arlene.
Thank you.
You, sir, are you here for? You're on. So what's your name?
My name is Roger O'Day. I'm a lawyer, and I'm here representing the owners. My office is in Harwich Port.
Yeah,
and
which property are you representing?
Saltwater Lane.
I see, okay, I see it on here, okay, yeah, thank you.
Also shown on some places.
Certificate of
as
compliance.
Riverside Drive.
Saltwater Lane, right, thank you.
Do you have any details on this?
Yes, at the bottom of the page under certificate of compliance. I thought we were, this was the 6 Saquatucket Point?
No?
No, this is, it's
14.
Saltwater Lane,
14 Saltwater Lane.
14 Saltwater Lane.
So it's this,
Also, sometimes it's also referred to as Riverside Drive.
Right.
Saltwater Lane is a non-existent
Yeah,
road
I think
that
that's
runs
a
off of
typographical
Riverside
error.
Drive.
This is-
yeah, it's the second one under certificate of compliance.
It looks like it belongs to 6 Saquatucket, but it's,
Right, I got you,
Separate.
okay, yeah, okay. Okay, sir, you're on.
All
We're
right.
with you now, okay.
Basically, we're before you looking for a certificate of compliance for an old order of conditions that expired and the work was never done. Before 1997, at the property down on Herring River, the property runs from Riverside Drive to Herring River. Prior to 1997, there was an existing pier and stairs to Herring River. In 1997, an order of conditions to reconstruct that existing pier and stairs issued from the commission. Work was never done, the order lapsed. In 2005, essentially the same project came before the commission. A new order of conditions issued basically for the same work in a little bit different configuration. There was an extension permit and a certificate of compliance. So what you see there now is in compliance with the 2005 order of conditions for which a certificate of compliance issued. The reason we need a certificate for the old 1997 one is the property is being sold. The old 1997 order of conditions remains on record in order to clear the title to sell the property. We need a certificate of compliance from it.
would
We
you
don't-
mind repeating that?
Okay. The last part?
The whole history.
Okay. Before 1997, on Herring River, at where this property fronts on Herring River, there was an existing pier and stairs. In 1997, an application was made, an order of conditions issued to reconstruct the existing pier and stairs. That work was never done. That order lapsed, and then in 2005, 8 years later from the order, a new order of conditions issued on a new application, basically for the same work. There was a different engineer, it was Coastal Engineering, the first one was McClellan, and they came in 2005, got a new order of conditions, did the work, and a certificate of compliance issued for the 2005 order of conditions. The one I'm requesting your commission to issue a certificate on is the old 1997 one, where the work was never done and the order lapsed. And the reason we need the certificate for that order is because the property is being sold and the old order of conditions is still on record. So we just need a certificate to get it off. Nothing is changing from what you see as far as the pier goes right now.
I guess we usually would have comments from the agent who would go inspect the property to confirm that nothing happened under that order. And I don't see any communications from Amy on this. Do we have anything?
No, I don't think we have anything.
So,
I did meet with Amy on, before she went on the 12th of July,
But
reviewed all this with
this
her in
thing
her
belongs
office and
with
went
this.
through it.
yep.
And I said we'd be happy to give you any more information you wanted. And I haven't seen her comments. I tried, I went
Do you have
to
any
take a look
comments on this
at them, and before we became public record, and I could review them, but,
Right.
yeah, I met with Amy on July 12. She asked me to write the
She has
letter, which
no
I've done, and submit the application for it.
We have nothing on it.
And now whether she went out to the site or not, but basically, when she looked at it in the office, she said, you know, this is basically what was approved was in the same location for basically the same thing. It's evident that the work wasn't done,
Right,
and what was done has already been approved.
right. And is it
But-
just a pier, or is it other work beyond a pier? Is it just a pier?
It's a pier and stairs that go down to Herring River. There's stairs, a pier goes down, and then there's a float.
I think that the commission probably shouldn't vote on this without a recommendation from the agent. We don't have that.
I just have a technical question. If we give an order of condition and nobody does anything and the time lapses, it still stays on a legal record?
I would expect not, but
I've
it sounds
experienced
like,
that. Why do
Does
we
it?
have to do extensions?
It's land court property, and it is recorded against the property, and
It's a lien on
So
the property, right?
basically,
It is,
you'd
yes.
want that order deleted.
yeah.
even if it lapses, yeah, I didn't realize that, but that's what we're hearing today. So it sounds fine, but it'd be pretty unusual to vote on this with no paperwork submitted to us or recommendation from our agent.
Or,
There is no recommendation from her?
No,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and my guess is she got real busy on that Friday and went on vacation and didn't get to it.
Could we recommend we continue this to the next meeting?
I hope that's okay. I mean,
Well-
we very often approve these without representation, so if you were not able to make it for the 17th, I think it'd be fine, as long as there's no issues.
When is she back from vacation?
Back next week.
Yeah.
Monday.
Next week, and she'll be here for the 17th.
Well,
I'm hesitant, the authority rests with the committee,
no, I understand.
but without us going to see the site or reviewing paperwork, I don't think it's really a great idea for us to vote on it.
I understand your position. I'm just, we do have a closing coming up. And
Oh.
my thinking was if, I would certainly not ask you to sign something and hand it to me because you don't have any comments. But if we could structure it in some fashion whereby if she looks at it and says it's okay, if we could have.
I don't see that certificate, that statement would be sufficient in a land court, though, to release a lien.
No, it wouldn't, if we did submit the standard form, which is the request for certificate of compliance, and we, submitted the form, paid the fee, and we're just asking for that certificate because we need to clear the title.
When is your closing?
Pardon?
When is your closing?
The closing is now on the 17th.
On the 17th.
Is it something that we can approve
Come in and sign.
after she looks at it, and we could come in and sign?
We can approve it now, it's just that to approve it without a recommendation based on the site visit, we've never done that. And that's not really a good idea.
I don't know how we
We
can
can
do
go
a
down there and have a site
certificate
visit
of.
ourselves and, look at it. We've just relied on the agent for a long time now to give us
Yeah.
these site visits on
Yes.
certificate of compliances.
And how can we give a certificate of compliance if they never built it?
Apparently, we have to, just to release.
Is there no other way to release this
No,
by a
that's the document that has to,
seems
filed.
silly, but it sounds like
No.
we're hearing that it is, that's
The-
the process, and so I'm fine with that. I'm just a little bit concerned that we have zero information, we don't have documents.
We don't have the as-built plan.
Yeah, we don't have an as-built plan,
Yeah.
even though there won't be one.
There won't be one.
Yeah, but there's, it's unusual, I think, for us to vote on something we have no information on like this, so I'm trying to think of how we can help you, because you've got a closing on the 17th.
Now, as a practical matter, when Amy goes down there, or if any of the members of your commission decided to go down there, you're gonna see the completed one that was permitted
2005.
in 2005, and we already has its certificate of compliance.
Right.
So, I mean, there'll be nothing to see related to the old one, because the work was never done. I understand your position, and I'm not asking you to break new ground with a new precedent by,
You know what?
doing something
Well, we
different.
said
Add something, because I've been through this, the house that we bought, there was a pool supposed to be built. It was never built, but they never closed that certificate of compliance. We bought it, and later it came up, and we had to ask the Conservation Commission to approve it, and they approved it as not being built, so that they could file it with the land court.
So
They just closed it out.
Same situation.
You approve it as not being built.
Yeah, the way it's worded, you word it that it's in compliance because it was never built. I don't know, you're the attorney.
But
Some kind of retraction or something like that, where at a certain point you realize that you're not gonna do it, and you just submit a retraction and you're done.
Would someone like the motion?
I'm gonna send Amy a text just to see if she forgot to. I don't know if she's able to get this or not.
She's
Is she camping or
up
anything?
at, yeah,
Well, she was doing half camping on Mount Desert
She does get text, though.
and then half hotels with a bunch of friends.
hope she's having an awesome time.
Yeah, I hate to bug her, but it'd be nice to get out of this.
I'll make a motion that we approve this as not being built, but I'm not sure I'll get a second.
Yeah, your closing's on the day of the 17th. You know, we can come in and sign something once it's been demonstrated, so it's possible we could have a motion that says that we approve it pending Amy's confirmation.
Okay,
That's a great idea.
And then we could sign it after the fact.
okay,
That's a great idea.
We would just have to come in on our own
okay, we can do that.
and sign it, so.
We'll do that for you.
3 or 4 of us, so we can sign it.
All right, so let's move to approve the certificate of compliance for 14 Saltwater Lane pending the positive review comments from the conservation agent.
Okay, need a second?
Second.
A second from Rob. Any further discussion of the motion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank
She'll
you.
probably have this taken care of early next week.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for waiting for the last item.
That's fine.
Okay, is there anything else on the agenda for tonight?
You have to sign that.
Okay.
I have to stamp the ones that are over there.
What are we signing?
This is for this one.
Well, we said we'd sign it, see,
Oh, yeah, well, I actually
She'll sign it after she sees it.
Yeah.
After she sees it,
Yeah.
okay, but you approve the others.
Looks
One
like
signature
I signed
doesn't
it.
do a thing.
We're all
One
set
signature
then.
doesn't
Shows
do
the
a
power of my
thing.
signature on its own, right?
You won't
have to
have,
come
you won't
in.
have to come in.
yeah, you're lucky.
Look at that, huh?
Oh.
Almost like I planned it.
Okay, is there any other business? If not, we're adjourned.
Sure. On the
Um,
comments you made, I
Was I
Thank you for bringing